my name is Gary Noland with Junk Removal. I am sitting in good company with Joseph Martinez of Vets Haul Junk. And Joseph, welcome.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm going to ask pretty much everybody the same questions. What got you into this? Where did you start? Where are you now? And where are you going?
Great question. And it's a long answer. I'm sure, like everyone else, has long answers. But
Yep.
Long story short, in 2013, I was medevaced out of Afghanistan. I was in the infantry. And for the following 2 years, I was just in a funk. I couldn't quite find my bearings in civilian society. I was one of those lifetime career military men who felt that I was going to do 30 years in military service and then one day right off into the sunset. But unfortunately, things didn't quite work out like that. So here I am back after I recovered in the United States. And like I said, I just can't find my place in society. We lived in a small bedroom town of Woodbridge, Virginia, and there's a lot of Marines because it's close to Quantico, United States Marine Corps base. So my neighbor, who was a Marine, and she was moving to her next duty assignment, she knew that I had a truck and trailer, and she asked if I wanted to make a few bucks. So of course, I wasn't doing much of anything else. I hadn't been started working yet, and I was really not quite sure what I was going to do with the rest of my life. So I took the job, and I guess I impressed her, and she started sending word out to the other Marines in her unit that, if they needed help moving and so forth, that, she knew a guy with a truck and a trailer, and it started from there. And eventually I had an epiphany, and I realized that after doing 2 or 3 jobs for the other Marines in her unit, I just being in junk removal and being around military members, veterans, it was erasing that loneliness that I had inside me. I love civilians, but I tend to get along better with veterans, with military members, and being around my fellow veterans, it was fulfilling this need and the desire to be a part of a team once again and be around those people that I enjoyed so much, the veterans. So I got the courage up and I decided to give it a go. And I didn't put a whole lot of effort into it initially for the first couple of years. I just did it onesie, twosie jobs, no real advertising, just kind of word of mouth. But, Gary, when you provide a good service for people and you respect the customer's hard-earned money, word gets around. And without really trying to grow my customer base, my customer base began to grow on its own. So I realized that I was becoming whole again by being around my fellow veterans, by sweating and getting beat up and bruised and working out in the cold and the heat. And it was just like I was back in the infantry again. It was really no different. Instead of carrying a rucksack on my back, I was carrying a refrigerator out the door. And nothing beats the feeling of driving away with a check in your pocket that you earned. We've been in business going on, six and a half years now. I've been able to grow our organization because I've always had a heart for veterans. And I realized that what I was actually going through during those first 2 years out of the Army was I was dealing with PTSD. I was in denial, And, some veterans get their relief through prescription drugs, through extreme sports, through illegal drugs, or
Sure.
drinking. For me, I was able to deal with my own PTSD by just being around my brothers and sisters again. And I realized that if I was becoming whole through junk removal, that other veterans who are also dealing with PTSD might get benefit from this as well. And I even coined a term. I call it junk removal therapy.
Yes.
And it truly is. You know, we've grown our locations. We are always talking to veterans who are interested in becoming part of our organization. They like what we're doing. They like what we stand for. And we are currently developing a whole nother junk removal brand that will also include law enforcement, firefighters, and so forth. Those are our brothers and sisters as well. So we see big things in the future, and we're really, really appreciative for the way our local communities have accepted us, have embraced us, and allowed us to grow.
You know, and I don't mean to stop you here, but a lot of what I have a brother who is a police, he's actually a police chief now, but, and what you were describing as far as that need to be around your own, it's because they speak the same language. A lot of them have the same background, the same kind of stories, the same kind of Afghanistan, but maybe in Iraq or maybe in Vietnam or whatever. Y'all have a kindred spirit that someone like me may never understand, because you may throw it out there and say, I've been through this, and this, and this is how I'm feeling. I might tell you, Joe, you just got to get up and go. I don't have that empathy that you're talking about. And it sounds like, man, you found yourself right in the right cradle to re-incubate yourself back into society. And look at you, man, you're giving back. And that, to me, that's what life is all about. It's not always just about making a dollar. It's about giving back, man. And your giving back is giving back to your brothers and sisters in arms. Cool.
It's kind of funny when I think about it. Now looking back, I realized that what I needed to feel whole again was to be part of a team. And I couldn't be part of the military team anymore. So I created my own team. And now I serve alongside my veteran brothers and sisters in a junk removal capacity. And it's just fantastic. You know, I forgot who said it, but it was a very wise man. He said something, and I'm going to jack it up, but he said something along the lines of, if you help enough people achieve their dreams in life, all of your dreams will come true as well. We're not a franchise, we're a contractual partnership. We're moving to a franchise very soon, but currently we call them local owners. So my guys who are Vets Hall Junk Removal local owners, one of them who was kind of in the same space that I was, you know, he was in the infantry as well, and he went to combat and so forth. He said he got out, he just couldn't find this place. He found me through some of the videos I made online, reached out to me, said he liked what we stood for. And because of this vehicle called Vets Haul Junk, he's been able to really provide a great lifestyle for his family, leave a legacy for his children.
Amen.
And prior to reaching out and becoming one of our local owners, he was lost, man, just like I was. So we have a lot in common, and it makes me feel good. Not just because I'm growing a business, because I'm able to change lives of other veterans from something that began as just an idea, man, in this pea brain of mine. You know, it started as a simple little measly idea in this brain of mine.
Right.
And it's just blossomed into something tremendous. So I'm very grateful.
So it's kind of interesting. I understand the need to be a franchise, and I've often wondered how you actually did that. So basically, you're kind of a co-op right now, and then you'll have to, because you want, this is you, and this is your brainchild. This is like your kid, and you don't want just anybody jumping in who can quite honestly just destroy what you what you built if you don't have the right people in, or if they're a loose cannon or something like that. So you are going to have to, as you grow, I imagine anyway, to control that inheritance that you're actually given to not only your family, but it sounds like quite a few families now. And so I can see the need where you'll have to do that. But just the fact that you're allowing people to come in and be a part of this at this level is it just speaks of sharing. And hey, there's plenty to go around here, and there is plenty to go around. And look at you, man. And you don't have a pea brain. I mean, obviously and we are going to talk about that as far as branding. You have this thing down, and you are making a difference. And I am one that watches every one of your videos, and that's probably the biggest thing I've taken away from you, Joseph, is the fact that you're constantly building your brand. Whether you're sitting down, standing up, hauling, driving, you're not flipping people off who cut you off at the freeway. You're probably waving to say, hey, it's cool, whatever, because you're constantly building a brand. And that is that. And people don't realize this, I don't think, but the reality is when you do that, it is at one view, one interaction, one job, one person at a time, every time.
I've turned OCD from a negative to a positive.
Amen.
OCD has its benefits, my friend. You think I'm joking? I am OCD. That when I was a child, they didn't realize, like, why is this kid bouncing off the walls? Well, he had OCD. They said, well, you'll never amount to much.
Infantry.
But I'm hoping to change their mind eventually.
Well, my wife has that. She's constantly putting things where they need to be, and there is a blessing in it, actually. It's kind of like the admiral. I think it was an admiral, but talking about making your bed every day. There is a necessity if you're going to be successful. There are certain traits that successful people do every day. They may be different from one another, but there is a formula for every person nobody wakes up and just hits the damn lotto, man. It just doesn't, that's not success. And besides, that's not success, period. Anyway, success is what you're doing. You're building something from, and this is something we probably should touch on, is we're building something from an idea. Every one of us, whether or not we have $100,000 to put into a business, or we scrape together and get a 15 by 5 foot trailer and a pickup truck, whatever it is, we build that from nothing but an idea onward. And how we do that can make life easier or extremely difficult. And that's one of the values in your videos on these daily just about daily videos, the things that you're showing people. And if they just listen long enough, they'll start picking up the pattern, because it wasn't so long ago that you had trailer pulling without a dump, right? And you had a vision and you stayed with it. What kept you, besides your OCD, what kept you on track?
I guess one of the reasons was just the pure enjoyment of really liking what I was doing. And I'm really fortunate, Gary. I mean, some of us have to get up every morning and go do a job that we don't like. And for me, a big part of my life, one of the ways I've lived my life, was that if I'm not having fun at what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. If it doesn't make me feel fulfilled, I'm not going to do it. But even beyond that, if I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and if it makes me feel fulfilled, I've always sought out ways to be able to multiply that feeling to other people. For example, I owned a couple of Airbnbs a few years back. And really, there's nothing more that you need to do to run an Airbnb, but just make the place a nice place for someone to live, okay, for a short period of time. And I did that. I went above and beyond because I really wanted to provide a nice, not a place to stay, but a home, even if it was just a temporary home for a couple of days. I wanted to provide them a really nice home away from home. And then when they started talking about awards and stuff like that, they have this thing called Superhost. And if you get so many 5-star ratings over an extended period of time, you're recognized as one of the best in the business. And when I saw that Superhost status, I said, that's giving me something to shoot for right there. That's something that I can see that's tangible, that I can set up as a goal for me, and I can move to achieve that. I'm a big goal setter. So I had everything there. I had the formula of, does it make me happy? Does it give me a feeling of fulfillment? Can I make other people feel good with this? And does it set in motion clear goals of which that I can shoot for? So anything that I've ever done, and I've owned multiple businesses, online, brick and mortar, so forth, I've succeeded at every one of those businesses because those are the parameters that I operated my business by. Now, let me insert one caveat there. Success to me may be very different than success to you. For me, success doesn't always mean, did I make a lot of money? For me, success is, did I learn something? I may not have done well in that business financially, but did I learn something in that business? And
Right.
through all of my successes and my failures, I'm very happy to say, brother, that I've learned something from every one of my failures. So it's been the fact that I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to love what I'm doing. I want to help people, and I want to have clear and defined goals of which I can achieve. And if I can put that into a package and wrap it up in a business, that's the business for me. Getting paid is not bad either.
No. Well, I mean, the reality is the lights have got to
That's
stay on.
nice.
Yeah, the lights have got to stay on. You want to take your wife out to dinner. You want to, be able to provide for your kids, live well. Those are important things to do. But when you're talking being a businessman, you are wearing especially in the beginning, you're wearing every hat there is. You're wearing the employee hat, you're wearing the owner hat, you're wearing the troubleshooting hat, you're wearing all these hats all at one time. And at any given time, you are going to be called to jump on it and make a decision based on which hat you have to wear at that moment. And I have a similar background. I've had several businesses other than this. And I agree with you, because if you don't learn along the way, you are going to make the same failures or bad mistakes that you've made in the past. And that is just a recipe for trouble. So when you run into something that you've already conquered, it's not this unscalable wall sitting there. You look at it and you go, okay, it's not exactly the same thing, but it reminds me of this. And how did I handle this? You may have handled it really poorly, but in retrospect, you turned it around and now you made the correct decision. I can't tell you how many times that's happened in this business compared to last businesses that I've had.
When my day gets a little frustrating, when things aren't going for me as well as maybe I would hope they would,
Right.
and I sometimes feel like just throwing in the towel for that particular day, I say, wait a minute. I recently left one of the harshest environments on the planet, Afghanistan. I had people out there trying to kill me, trying to put roadside bombs. This is nothing, man.
Right.
And this is why I wanted to build a business with veterans, because veterans have been there and done that. We have been tested and we have proven our mettle. And if we can do some of the things that we've done around the planet, junk removal, building a successful junk removal business is nothing. We can do that. No big deal.
You know how sometimes cops and such, they're getting a bad rep these days in many quarters, by not backing the blue and all this kind of stuff. You don't get that kind of feedback, do you? Or are there people that just would not do business with somebody with the veteran background?
I've not experienced that, nor have any of my local owners. And our formula for success is very unique. in that in addition to doing all of the market research, like median household income, proximity to landfill, competitors in the area, so on and so forth,
Right.
we also try to develop and find local and locate local owners in markets which are close to military installations, because as veterans, I know myself, anytime I need someone to, let's say, fix my air conditioner, I'm going to seek out a veteran first, and that's how veterans are. So in every one of our markets, by and large, we're embraced with open arms. There comes a responsibility with that as well. If we get sloppy, we're going to soil the name of not just our business, but the general name of what it means to be a veteran, So we have to be better than everybody else because more is expected of us because people know what our background is.
Right.
But they love us. Everybody loves us. I get calls several times a day. I mentor many individuals 2 to 3 times a day from individuals all around the country. Yeah, yourself included. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And they just express how awesome our brand is, how they love our brand, how they love what we stand for. So I'm very honored to be able to be in a position to mentor many of the individuals that I do. And as well, I wanted to mention, because I think it's important, we've had a couple of very long conversations in the past, over an hour and so forth. But every time I speak to you and every one of the other individuals out there, I hope that I provide value and you learn something from our conversation. Every time I have a conversation with any one of the individuals that I mentor, I'm very blessed and honored, for one, to be able to be in a position to mentor individuals, but two, with every one of these conversations I have, I learn something as well. And that's priceless.
You're very generous with your time, and you have been with me. I know that personally. And then your expertise, you're willing to give it to you. But I also know for a fact that you mean exactly what you just said, that you take away something every time you talk to someone.
I pour myself into these conversations because I believe in investing in people. And I also believe that, we can't reach those great heights of success by ourselves. Nobody can. Case in point, before we started recording, we were having trouble getting this Zoom up and running.
Right.
And I said, hey man, don't look at me. I have somebody that gets this stuff ready for me. Jonathan Schaefer, my local owner in Norfolk, Virginia. This is not my forte, but I've been lucky enough to identify early on that the way to succeed is to build a winning team.
Your big thing is building a brand. So tell me what are your steps? From this point on, and maybe just kind of run up to what you've done at least in the last 2 years since I've followed you. And that is, what have you taken? What steps have you taken, and what effects have those steps had on your business, let alone, because since you are giving this information, I know you're hearing testimonies with other people. So maybe just run that through and give people an idea, because it's real easy to have this simple dream, but there are steps that you can make a difference in a job versus a business.
I think if I were to break it down in its most simplest term, what branding means to me is it's an image, it's a feeling, and it's an idea that the customer gets when they see your truck driving down the street, they hear your name, or you engage with them if you're providing them junk removal service. And I think one of the most important things that I always keep in the forefront of my mind is that even when I think no one is watching, someone is always watching. So one of the things we tried to do early on was to create trust with the customer. And one of the ways you create trust with the customer is looking professional, knowing how to verbally engage with the customer, going above and beyond what the customer expects. When that individual cuts you off on the street, first inclination is to give that guy the bird. But then I have to reel myself back in.
That's right.
And I said, no, that was 10 years ago, Joe. This is now.
That's
okay.
Right.
And I have to remember that I'm representing the brand. So everything that we've done from the beginning, we thought in a very methodical manner. We paid particular attention to all of the minor details in order to create curiosity in the customer's mind. We wanted to stick out from everybody else. So when we hired a photographer to take company photos, the guys around the truck, I wasn't afraid to spend. And I'm not going to say I had a lot of money. I mean, I'm a saver, and I used a lot of my savings to self-fund to this point. But when we hired a photographer, I wanted to hire one of the best photographers that I could hire within my budget.
Right.
Okay. And that came with a lot of research. I'm a big research guy. Give you an idea. I started a junk removal business owners group a few years ago. We're one of the first junk removal business owner groups on Facebook, but we're one of the smallest. And I probably declined between 10 and 15 membership requests per month because I'm looking for a certain type of member that's going to bring value to the group. When you create value for the customer, or in this case, the group member, then you could create something amazing. So when we were building our brand, we wanted to make sure that our photos were top notch because that's what the customer is going to see. Okay. We wanted to ensure that when the customer calls, we understand that the customer experience doesn't begin when you arrive at the customer's home. The customer experience begins at the very first hello.
That's right.
I can't tell you, I shop many of my competitors, and I let them know. I tell them, hey, brother, I typically will reach out when I find there's a new competitor in my area. I'm going to reach out, introduce myself, and eventually I'm going to say, hey, if you don't mind, one of these days in the next couple of months, I'm going to shop you. I want to see how you do things. Is that okay with you? Yeah, no problem. So I will do that. I've done that with all of my competitors. Oftentimes, they'll answer the telephone just like this. Hello? That doesn't relate confidence to the customer. If I'm the customer and I'm calling you for junk removal service, and you say, hello, when you answer the telephone, you're probably not the right junk removal company for me, because the experience starts from my very first hello, from my employee's very first hello. So I ensured that if my employees are going to be answering the telephone, if I'm not able to, then they get significant training prior to them even picking up the telephone. If you haven't received training, you don't pick up the telephone. And I'm a big believer in inspect what you expect.
Because listen, kids, that is one of the most important things in the world. I don't care if it's Home Depot, I don't care if it's Walgreens or anywhere else, a junk removal. If somebody just says hello, I'm already moved on. If they don't have that professional touch where, I looked this up and I picked you up out of maybe 5 other companies, and I decided on you darn well better pick up and say, junk removal may help you, or Vets Haul Junk, what can we do for you? Whatever your stick is. But the first thing out of your mouth better be identification of what you are, what you do, and it should be able to be conveyed within seconds of how can I help you now? They know immediately that they've contacted the right person for the right job, for that job. And otherwise, oh, yeah, you may get lucky and it may be Jim from the swamp, looking for somebody, just to talk to you. But more than likely, you're looking for somebody who's looking for a junk removal job. And they need to know that. This day and age, huh, Joe? The people are making decisions like this.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and they'll move on real quick. It's just
And
like
you know what's
if you don't have your website up and running and it's not operating on all fives and it takes too long to load up on this machine, well, guess what? They've already moved on. And if you don't have your speed up, you're losing money.
and isn't it funny, Gary, that something as simple as professionalism and customer care can make the difference between a company that lasts just one season and a company that is building for longevity. I mean, you walk into any Walmart, I challenge you to try and find a customer service rep, an employee. You can't find them.
No.
So when you do something as simple as professionalize your organization, treat the customer like gold, the customer reciprocates and word gets around. Talking about branding, so it was all of that I just mentioned, but it's also when our guys arrive to the customer's home, spending 16 plus years in the Army, I'm a stickler for uniforms. I'm a stickler for haircuts. If our truck needs to be washed daily, it gets washed daily because that is our brand. We are professional, clean, punctual, respectful, courteous. That's our brand. And when the consumer thinks about Vets Haul Junk, we only want them to see one thing, and we want them to see that we are the best. And if our reviews and our customer base is any indication, we're doing it well.
Yeah, your reviews, I think the last time you told me you were over 350 something reviews, right?
Yeah, all 5-star. We have not one negative 5-star. And there are some individuals that say, hey, it's good to get a few negative reviews in there. I'm trying, man. I can't get any negative reviews.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't want negative unless it's I guess unless it's along the side lines of what you were talking about, learning stuff when you do something wrong, or you didn't come up to the expectations of a customer's needs. And then if it's legit, then they are necessary because that allows you to grow and give even better customer service to the people down the line. Because if you are missing something in that customer service, we really need to know. So I always get that feeling before I am getting a review or forming a review is basically what we do. I always make sure, hey, is there anything that we haven't done? Is there anything that I've missed? Is there, along the way, I already got a real good feeling that we've done right. I know if we are falling short and I know how to fix it because it's in motion and it's real easy to ignore those telltales where you're not providing everything that customer is and you've already got your mind on the next two jobs because it's you're in the heat of the busy season. You cannot look so far ahead not to finish strong with what you're doing right then and there. You got to make that one right, otherwise the ones down the road are not going to be right either. That I do know.
Exactly, 100% agreement. Last year, when I thought we were going to get a negative review, we were removing a few items, and one of them was a washer from upstairs. I don't care how good you are, mistakes are going to happen. And this was a mistake. We let the washing machine accidentally drop 3 steps down, and the corner of the washing machine dinged the wall. So immediately I told my guys, stop. Let me go get the customer. I said, ma'am, I need to show you something. It didn't feel good admitting that we made a mistake, but it's the right thing. I brought her over. I said, this is what we've done. We put a small ding in your wall, but this is what we're going to do. The guys are going to go on to the next job, but I'm going to hang back. Okay. And I'm going to go get some wall spackle. I'm going to get the coat of your paint. And in the next few hours, that hole will be spackled. And as soon as it dries, I'm going to paint it. She was so impressed that we corrected the deficiency immediately, that we admitted to it, and we took steps above and beyond to fix that quickly.
So
mistakes are going to happen, man.
So not only, let's say you didn't say nothing or didn't even bring it to your attention. The worst thing in the world is for you to take take your money and run and then have that customer turn around and look down and go, huh, look what they did. They didn't even tell me about that.
You know, and even more than that, Gary, at least for me, I don't feel good about myself, man. I
That's it.
don't. If you know, if I made a mistake and, you know, I'm trying to cover it up, I don't think I'd sleep very good that night, because Vets Hall Junk Removal, this is my baby, man. Okay, this is my
Right.
blood, sweat, and tears. I know what has went into building this business, and for me to try and sweep something under the rug, I just wouldn't feel good about it, man. I've
Yeah.
invested too much time, too much blood and sweat in this in order to do anything like that. And you know, we focus that much attention and effort and dedication in everything that we do with our brand, even to the point of, you know, I have high standards for my local owners as well. Credit is one thing that we look at significantly. Credit isn't going to tell me a lot about you, but it's going to tell me something significant about you.
That's
And if
right.
you don't have good, not decent, good credit, then I've told individuals, I've told veterans who are interested, right now, your credit isn't where I want it to be. But
Right.
take a year, work on your credit, and then come back and talk to us. And maybe we can do business then, as well. There are standards that, another standard that we have is, I tell these veterans, look, man, nothing is guaranteed. We've done research in your market. We believe your market will be profitable, but we can't guarantee anything. So that being said, we don't want you to have to rely on this junk removal paycheck in order to feed your family. You need to show us that you have $50, $60, $70,000 liquid in the bank, of which you can fall back on if this junk removal thing doesn't work out.
That's right.
So our standards are high in everything we do, not just how we serve the customer. And this is how we have grown our brand. Excellence in everything we do.
So, Joseph, give us an idea of where you go from here. Well, I mean, you obviously have started with the trailer. You've got this beautiful, uh, pickup truck that advertises everywhere it goes. Then you have this 18, I think it's 18 yard, 20 yard, 21 yard, I don't know, it's massive, dump truck that you drive around, and everywhere you go, it advertises itself too. So what's next?
We're going to multiply Vets Hall Junk to a few more locations, but what we've really decided to do is to create a mirror brand of Vets Hall Junk by a very different but very kind of similar name, if you will, if that makes much sense. It will later on when you see what we're doing. That will include law enforcement, firefighters, and so forth. So
First responders.
we see ourselves continuing to grow the Vets Hall Junk Removal brand, but we will begin focusing on a larger, more inclusive brand as we move forward. And I'm very fortunate to say that we have law enforcement and firefighters lined up once we get through the franchise development process. Currently, we're working with franchise development attorneys to put this whole package together. We're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And I've taken on two partners as well. My partners in this new endeavor are going to be my veteran brothers, Chris Benson and John Schaefer, my very first two Vets Hall Junk Removal local owners. I've worked with them for a couple of years. We're cut from the same cloth. Oftentimes people say, don't ever take on partners. But in essence, when I brought them on as local owners of their own Vets Hall Junk Removal location, they are my partners. And I've been able to get to know them over the last few years and work very, very closely with them to ensure that we are of one mind and one vision. And these guys realize, man, that, as one, we can accomplish much. But when we band together, what we can accomplish can be truly amazing, and we could change a lot of veterans' lives for the better, man. And that's really what it's all about. Once again, going back to if we if we make enough individuals' dreams come true, if we help them succeed, we will succeed as well.
So you're basically what you're saying is they're battled hard and field tested. So you're ready to go. You're ready to start this new venture with people that you have been in the trenches with, and it fits perfectly into your whole business model, actually, because the military is all about partnership.
Chris Benson, Vets Hall Junk Removal, Lake Norman, North Carolina. Great leadership skill and tremendous skill when it comes to matters that need someone to be tactical, a tactical thinker. And then John Schaefer, Vets Hall Junk Removal, Hampton Roads. This guy blows me away, man. He in the Navy, he's my Navy man. In the Navy, he was a nuke ELT, which basically means he was a nuclear chemist that did all kinds of top secret stuff for the Navy. His initial score joining the Navy was off the charts. And this is the guy that handles is putting our infrastructure together and so forth.
Nice.
I provide the vision and the leadership. These guys complement the skills that I don't have.
That plays right into your whole business type of thinking, your mentality, the helping others. So I have a question for you, and it probably the last thing I ask. Can anybody do this business?
Can anybody do Vets Hall Junk, or can anybody do junk removal?
Junk removal.
It's a great question. Anybody, absolutely anybody, can be successful in junk removal. I believe you have to have the right motivation. And I don't believe, though I shouldn't try and prejudge anyone's motivation, but I'm going to say money should never be your motivator, because if that's the case, there'll never be enough. Okay. But I think if you have a good reason to start your own junk removal business, that's the very first thing. I think that if you possess the drive and determination, regardless of what the odds are, if you remain mission focused and vision oriented, and you don't lose sight of that, yep, you could succeed. The little things that will help an individual along the way to be successful in junk removal is, if you don't know how to market, if you're not good at graphic design, if you're not good at engaging with people, if you're not good at selling, then by all means, man, get in front of the computer. Everything you need to, I should say most of everything you need. Some things are innate, they're in here. Yes. But everything else that you need to succeed is laid out before you on the internet. Right. And, you know, being in junk removal going on 6.5 years soon, I make a scheduled effort every week. I set aside 2.5 to 3 hours every week that I call my development time, where I am learning or working on a skill that I possess, or learning a new one, learning more about business. See, man, you have to remember, okay? I always go back to the fact that I'm an infantryman. I'm not a CEO, I'm not a CFO, but I'm having to grow into that role now, because one day people are going to look at me and say, "Hey, CEO, what do we do? You know, you're the one that makes this thing roll. We need your expertise." So if I don't prepare myself now for success by getting my face in the books, by, you know, when the kids go to sleep, when the kids and wife go to sleep at 9 o'clock or 9:30, I don't go to sleep, man. That's when I'm just getting restarted once again. Those are my 3 or 4 hours that I'm able to devote to my learning, to my daily books, to my marketing, and then to learning those skills that I don't yet possess. So you have to have the determination. You need to take stock of and be honest with yourself. What am I good at? And what do I need to become better at? And then write those things down. And then when you write those things down, put a plan together. How am I going to get better at the things that I'm not good at right now? And it takes time. But geez, man, you know, we want to build a successful junk removal company. These are the things that are necessary to build a successful anything.
Right.
So to answer your question, anybody can be successful It just takes drive, determination, innovation, and a never quit attitude.
That's right.
And then
You have to be able to take the downs. You can't just get over, because there are going to be these tsunamis that come and they're going to want to knock you out.
You're right. Resiliency.
You
Resiliency is
have
key.
to. It's kind of like being in the
You know,
military when you get pushed back and stuff. Sometimes you do have to pull back and reorganize and then hit them even harder the next time around. It's the same thing in junk removal. It's the same thing in any business. I don't care what it is. You have to be resilient.
Let me add one thing on
Sure.
that resiliency tip. I think one of the most critical tools that an entrepreneur must possess is the ability to filter out what he allows into his mind. When your friends are laughing because your phone isn't ringing, when that little voice in the back of your head, and I say this all the time, when that voice in the back of your head is saying, man, you made a mistake. Like, this isn't going to work. Nobody's calling. You just need to go back to your 9 to 5. You need to be able to realize that those are just games. Your mind, wants you to be as comfortable as you can at all times. It doesn't want you to have strife or stress or doubt. Okay. But I should say it wants you, not that it wants you to have strife and stress and doubt so that you quit and you don't do anything different than you're doing today. But you have to push past that. You have to be better than it. You have to realize that those are just mind games. My own mind is playing tricks on me. And eventually, with clarity of vision, determination, and focus, and resiliency, you go out and you make that phone ring.
That is the key right there. So many people, especially nowadays, meaning this is the quote unquote slow time. I don't think you're slowed down much, have you? You're still busy.
No, not at all.
And so we all remember, though, when we started. And now I'm only 10 months, now 11 months into the game here in where I've relocated. And it's been a good off season. Last week, I was sicker than a dog. There was no work for me. I found out you learn that when those calls come in, you still schedule them. You just don't schedule them for today. You can't work. So you say, hey, when do you need that done? You get a feel from when they can. Well, some people want it done immediately. How does next Tuesday? You don't have to tell them why you can't do it today. I found that everything that came in last week, I rescheduled for this week. This week has been busy. I can't tell you how many calls I had. It's all a matter of perspective. I could have been, oh, woe is me, I'm sick, dead to the world, literally could not get out of bed. And guess what? I figured a way out. It's just a matter of schedule. It's a matter of, hey, can you do it next Tuesday? No, actually, I was thinking Monday. Perfect. I was 12 o'clock out, et cetera, et cetera. So we built out our week. This week is going absolutely fantastic. My mind is not on last week where I didn't make whatever I thought I was going to make because that wasn't possible. So I took the possibilities and made it work for my present situation. And it is really important to be able to just muddle through that kind of dark self-talk crap that people do to themselves. You just have to keep pushing forward, man.
Yeah, self-motivation is key. There are a lot of skills that, us as entrepreneurs need to continue to develop, myself included. No one is going to bat 100 at all times. There's going to be some slow times, but what you do during those slow times is key in what will make the difference.
Yeah. Well, Joseph, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know you're a very busy man and you do give, I can attest to this. You give a lot of yourself to people. And if people really want to learn this deal, you ought to go to his channel because number one, he gives out absolute free advice all the time. You just have to listen to what the man is saying. He's always giving you do this, do that, or this. This is where success comes from. And I can't tell you how many things I've learned. My favorite thing I've learned from you, though, is definitely brand yourself. I love the way you put it. And I think the bottom line is when someone says my company or Vets Haul Junk, is they also see the value in doing business with them. And once they see the value of doing business with you, guess what? The chances of them wanting to do business again and again and again, well, that's 12-fold. And so that's I appreciate your time here, man. And let's do this again.
Pleasure, Gary. Thank you very much for your time as well.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you again, Joe. Thank you.
Have a great night, sir.